Alrighty then, it's time for a Jungle Aurelion Soul video, and this one has a lot to prove. Which one? Because one of my own teammates, before the game even started, said, "Why are you trying to pick Aurelion Soul? Don't pick it, it's bad." So, you know, when you're just checking out champions, sometimes you just click around and you just then sit on it, and it might not actually be the champion you want to pick. Well, that's what happened in this game. I hovered over Aurelion Soul, and one of my teammates was like, "No, don't, please don't pick Aurelion Soul. It's terrible." So with that in mind, I was just like, "Nah, man, I gotta prove you're wrong now." You know, a little bit of your pride there. Also, because I really like Aurelion Soul, and I kind of have to prove him wrong, right? Just gotta prove that person wrong. How dare you insult top lane AP Urgot? I will show you how you're wrong. You get my gist. Anyways, I also have a Singe teammate, and you guys know how much I love having Singe top lane. That's not a joke. I really love it because the amount of absolute fuckery a top lane Singe gets away with allows the enemy just to, well, it distracts the enemy. So now constantly the jungler has to gravitate towards top lane, and you as a jungler get to dick around and control the rest of the jungle and lanes and whatnot. Unfortunately, I'm not a control jungler, so I don't get to do that to the level I would normally want to or be able to when I have a Singe teammate, but that's still a nice thing. Anyways, I also got to give credit to the teammate that told me that Aurelion Soul sucked. He even said, "You know what? Don't mind me, I'm just grouchy. I don't think Aurelion Soul jungle is good, but you know, like, well, it's just, you know, we'll see." And that's actually an admirable quality to have. You know, you can have your doubts and skepticism about something, but don't count it out until you see it crash and burn in front of you. So far, though, I really haven't been able to do anything, just sort of farm and such and such. Anyways, as you can see, I actually skipped Runic Echoes, or at least the Stalker's upgrade or any upgrade for the Smite, for the Smite items, right? I'm going straight into Catalyst to go straight into Rod of Ages, and then heading into Rylai's Crystal Scepter. I'm trying to be, at least moderately more useful, because Runic Echoes is not bad. I mean, Luden's Echo and Runic Echoes is not bad on Aurelion Soul, but as a first item, it leaves a lot to be desired. I like Rod of Ages a lot more than I do Runic Echoes because it gives you the sustain for team fights and the tankiness you need. Aurelion Soul is that tanky, sustained AP bruiser kind of thing, right? So, anyhow, I forgot to mention runes and masteries are the same as well, not the same as always. They're a little bit more altered. Same masteries though, 0, 12, 18. But my runes are a bit different, bit more different this time. Magic Pen Red, Armor Yellow. I think it was either AP Scaling Blues, I'm not quite remembering that, or it was Magic Resistance. But I had Movement Speed Quints, because obviously movement speed is very important on Aurelion Soul. Although rushing to build boots, mobility boots or of any kind, rank 2 boots, isn't really that good. I mean, it's not a bad thing to get it, but the other items are just so much more valuable on Aurelion Soul, which you have to say is one of his bigger weaknesses in the jungle, in that he really is very reliant on having his first prime items pretty much built. Like his power difference between Rylai Scepter and not having Rylai Scepter is huge. Anyways, you can see me, I'm doing a lot of very short hop kind of ganks right now, just going over walls with his E. The long distance ones have been kind of pissing me off a lot, mostly because they just tend to fail. And last time I made an Aurelion Soul video, some people were questioning, "Stonewall, don't you know you can shoot your Q and then use your E to push your Q and make it bigger?" Yes, you can do that. The problem with that, though, by the way, this completely fails. I failed my combo here, but she kind of also countered me by charming me, which ends up retracting my balls back to me. So she gives you such a chilling stare, and as you know, with anything that gets cold, your balls retract into your body. But anyways, on a serious note, that whole shoot your Q and then guide it with your E isn't very useful, mostly because you're kind of stuck in that one pathway of hell. So it's very easy if your opponents see it coming just to kind of move out of the way, regardless of how big it's growing. And it's also very easy just to miss, because even if it's good angle and good everything, your opponents might inadvertently just dodge it because they were naturally moving away from it. So it's better just to use your E to close the gap get in there, and then fire your Q and guide it that way instead. Either way, as you can see, just constantly trying to get there, just constantly trying to catch people, and it's almost working. In this case, they just sort of dodged because he was a little further ahead and uses E, but still. But still, the chase is on, and we kill off a little bit more. We catch him in the bottom lane and finish him off, and then we go kill Aurelion Sol's white cousin, the one that nobody likes. He may be a white dragon, but he's the black sheep of the family. Anyhow, at this point, my teammates actually like, oh man, Aurelion Sol, you're like, it's pretty legit so far, and I'm enjoying that. I like receiving a little bit of a praise. I still do like Aurelion Sol, and it's very insane how massively underplayed he is. He just has a lot of playmaking potential. His damage is very deceptively high, as is for most sustained champions, and a lot of people underestimate it because a lot of people like to go boom boom rather than boom boom boom. But yeah, I like him. I like him. I strongly suggest him, but I know it's very how would you say? He's very worrisome for a lot of people to invest in because he's not very action oriented. And they don't know if they might like him. He's expensive IP wise because he's kind of pretty much new still, and his playstyle is very unique. So a lot of players just won't sort of catch on to him. I know I've said that before, but I just kind of want to stress that out more because I think his play rate actually dropped to like a 0.17. It's very dismal. Like, even when he was released, it was just like a 2, and it kept steadily dropping. A lot of people say it's because he's boring, but I can't see it because I really, really like it. So, for you guys here, I'll just pose the question right now. Why do you think his play rate is so dismally pathetic? Nonetheless, I just like the playmaking potential. You can see in this game mostly how much space I'm being able to control simply by just shoving my balls in people's faces. How much damage I get to do, mostly because they can't go through my Singed teammate and my Victor. Like, I didn't pick Aurelion Sol for any strategic value in this team. It just sort of happened to fall in like that. Aurelion Sol seems to be like the new inheritor of one of the old compositions that was prevalent with champions like Cassiopeia and Trundle. If you guys don't remember that composition, it was Cassiopeia, Singed, and Trundle were the trifecta of absolute butt fucking cancer. It was so insanely powerful if you ever got a hold of it. It was Trundle and Singed would control so much space that would just whittle you down, and Cassiopeia would obviously barrage you with toxic and whatnot, and it just became this like a zone of death essentially. A wall between you and your opponent became no man's land, so to speak. And if you ever even managed to get a little bit of traction, they would just push you away, back up, and make a new zone of death. And it seems Aurelion Sol, if that sort of composition and so that sort of strategy still existed, would have been amazing in that. As in this one, I've already started to think that Singed is probably one of Aurelion Sol's most valuable buddies. As you can see in this company, right now we kind of absolutely get ram blasted because mostly we engage on that poorly, but anyways. As you can see, my entire team is building Rylai's Crystal Scepter right now, or at least working towards it. I believe we end up getting 3.5 near the end of this, and it actually ends up becoming one of the better choices we could have, mostly because me and Singed and the Zyro as well are just like I mentioned, controlling so much space and making it so anyone who even gets close, like the Graves and the Shen, they get absolutely barraged to death. And look at the composition; they really can't handle something like that. This is something that they sort of accidentally fell into. I don't think the enemy team saw it coming, and neither did we. It just sort of seemed to have worked and clicked. And now, if I have a Singed teammate, I'm starting to think to myself, I might as well lock in Aurelion Sol. Anyhow, the game is rather even. Despite the fact that we have 7 more kills, the enemy team composition is a deadly one if we can't get our little zone of death out. Zone of Death off. We don't really have that much burst damage. I mean, we technically do have burst damage, but it's not very upfront. It's like Jhin has to get a couple shots in and then blow somebody up. Victor has to line himself up to murder somebody. So it's very inadequate burst damage. But if we catch anyone, or we catch them off guard, or we have ourselves positioned properly, they are in no way, shape, or form capable of fighting us off. So it's like if we fight in corridors, if we fight, behind walls or anything, or if we fight them in ways in which we can intercept them like I just did there and trap them, they are doomed. They just it's basically impossible for them to get a pick off on any of us if we're even remotely near each other, because we're able to stall so much. And I like, look at that, just the Graves had to spend so much time trying to dodge my balls in his face, and the Victor just, he was trying to position himself in a way for himself to be able to do damage and actually see the Graves, that the Graves was also trying to dodge that, so he couldn't do jack dick while my balls were slapping him, right? So right now my giant little orbit of, well, I have to keep calling them balls, it's just forcing them to just sort of back off. It's just, look at how much space it's controlling. The Shen can't get close enough because I'm just constantly smacking them in the face. It's just, look at that. I mean, the Zyra and the Jhin, of course, are here to back me up, but it's like they can't stand their ground and fight. The front line is too heavy for them to kill quickly enough before the Jhin and the Zyra snare them and then blast them down. They can't ignore me because my damage can actually ramp up considerably, and Singe is just a giant, like a flying, running, wild man of cancer. So it's such a lovely team composition I was having. I was so thrilled that this was going on. Like I said, pure accident. They can't get close to us without dying. They need to somehow find a way to catch one of us off guard, but they don't exactly have the team composition to do that. If Thresh hooks one of us up, boom, in comes the no man's land. If Shen teleports in on some sort of engage, we'll just disengage quickly, and then Shen will be kited to hell. They just sort of fell into this composition. Again, the only other thing that could go wrong is if we sort of mad dive, mad bomb or something. Like in this case, the Victor got a little too greedy, but thankfully he didn't die right away. It allowed us to catch the Graves and kill him in vengeance. So technically we're still ahead. And then the enemy team sort of re-engages on us, and then they quickly realize that, again, we're just gonna shove them back into their little corner and back into timeout. It's just a little wonderful feeling, right? Again, I do think I actually have a couple team battles from several years back where it was Trundle, Singed, and Cassiopeia, and I think Ashe too, which made the whole thing even more just painful for the enemy team. Check that out. Use a little search bar and look it up, and sort of maybe you'll see it. But yeah, it's sort of the same premise. Where it's just this little moving wall of slows, little moving wall of absolute control. The enemy team can't do anything. If they split push, then they have even less of a chance to survive it. If they try to team fight us, then we're just gonna ignore them and back away, and then just do it once more. It doesn't cost us anything to be doing whatever. So I think the only real team compositions that could crush us is if they had some straight out powerful initiators. Something, well, Malphite would have gotten crushed in lane against Singe, but someone like Malphite would have done good. Just go in there, grab us all, and then just shred us in one quick instance. If they had something like Annie, Malphite, they could have easily dealt with us. Our damage would be slow, and our control rate requires at least some form of rev up time in like a couple seconds. That it's enough for them to have blown us out. So because the enemy team doesn't have that sort of initiation, and they're as slow, if not slower than us, we're able to constantly just weave in and weave out of any team fight or whatnot. Just how brutal has this game gone. Once we activated our Rylai's Crystal Scepters and some of our mobility and utility items, the enemy team just stopped being able to do anything to us. And this is the beauty of sustained damage, or at least sustained damage from me and the Singed. We control the space, and while they're in that space, they're slowly, or in this case moderately, getting beat down. And as long as if they want to try to get to us, they have to absorb all that damage, so that by the time they actually get to us, our little shitty amount of damage is enough to finish off their half-beaten corpses, right? That's the beauty of the sustained damage. And that's also kind of why Riot has had such a big issue balancing it out. But I've already gone over that in a lot of detail in past videos, and if you want to hear about that, go look up the other Aurelion Soul video, the one where I talked about how well designed he is. Now, my build is pretty much complete, but now because of the little zone of death kind of build that I'm going for the Leandri's Torment. Normally at this point I would be going with something like an hourglass just to survive. But I figure since we're controlling, again, the zone of death and making it so we're constantly barraging them with damage, the Leandry seems like the most adequate build for this. Like, look at that. Rewind that team fight if you want to. Look at how much space we controlled. The Shen was basically sacrificed because the enemy team knew if they got too close, they would have been torn to shreds. The Ahri actually got through, but there was nothing she could do because we were able to hold on to our defensive abilities because we didn't need to burn them to deal with the remainder of the enemy team. So it's just like they can't do anything. We say, like, all I need is just 2 abilities to zone them out. All Singe needs to do is run around in circles to zone them out. So if all hell actually breaks loose, then we just burn out the CCs to deal with the ones who actually got through, kill them, and then it's back to square one. Well, there I died mostly because I got a little too cocky because I was trying to defend the Baron, and they caught me and obviously murdered me. But of course, even without me, my teammates are just able to control so much ground. The enemy team can't do anything. They can't focus Singed, obviously, or chase him because that's stupid as hell, but they can't ignore him either. He's just running amok. The MVPs of this game were the Zyra and the Singed. Due to Singed just being Singed and being the general bullshit champion he was able just to harass, annoy, and generally allow us to get away with a lot of shenanigans. And the Zyra was the backline, the one that was able to protect us in case someone actually managed to break through. It was just like the most perfect team composition I could have asked for against theirs. And again, it happened by pure accident. We just had a front line, a mid line, and a back line, and they just couldn't do anything. Again, this isn't even saying that the enemy team was particularly bad or anything. They did do some plays that showcased that they knew what they were doing. It's just my team composition just happened to be super oppressive towards them. Look at that. They can't break through. When they actually do break through, they end up getting killed and punished. So, like, the Ahri managed to kill someone, but she died in return, and that allows us to just destroy more towers and just generally pull off more shit. It's like, any success they get is met with so much opposition that it just sort of falls back on them. In this case, though, we got a little bit too greedy, and we lost a few members, and here I don't even have any mana to deal with Graves, so I say fuck it and go home. But still, we made so many gains off that shenanigans. Rewatch that last team battle. Again, I gotta say, my balls were all over the place. Just ball slap here, nutsack over there, just teabagging everyone. Just constantly, just that zone of death. It kept hitting at least 2 people non-stop, slowing them, dealing considerable damage. It was great. Meanwhile, Singe created this barrier of poison, which alongside Rylai, they just couldn't get fucking through. It's like just so much space is controlled, and if I ram into them with my Q, it gets so big they don't want to get hit by it. It doesn't do the most damage, but it's gonna hit them, and by getting like an AoE stun on them, it's pretty much gonna guarantee somebody dies or they all get killed or something. In this case, though, we sort of got a little too ahead of us, and once again sort of died for it. But once a team groups up once more, you can see the whole area of the Naya shit going on again. As soon as we get in there, me and Singed, the enemy team can't do anything. They're slow to a damn crawl, and then just sort of forced to run away completely in vain. It was such a wonderful game, and it was just it happened. It's a great example, just a great example of how a really smart team composition, even by accident, can completely shut down a game. Team compositions matter, and this pretty much showcased it. Hooray. This channel is supported by my sponsors, Crunchyroll and Loot Crate. Check out the description below for links to the websites. Signing up for any trials, including Crunchyroll's free anime trial, greatly supports my channel. Also remember to give the video a like to support the channel and subscribe if you haven't yet. I've also made a Patreon now, and if you wish to support me through that medium, then I welcome it.